to say that I am excited to be here will be an understatement. We are EMA Group for Financial Services. It's called Effective Management Association. And what you're going to see right now is just a little bit of what we have been doing for a few months and what has allowed me to double and triple my income this year. What we're doing, we're learning and we're implementing effective management technology and on each one of our businesses, and you are going to see a little bit of that tonight. In the house, we have Jerry Fetta, the Michael Jordan of financial services. Everybody, by the way, in the group, we have nicknames, okay? So that's why. We have Leah Trudell. Leah Trudell is the moneymaker. Woo! Nice. And we have Jonathan Norton. Jonathan is the wealth creator. Okay, Jonathan, please tell me again from where exactly are you creating wealth in the US?
Well, I live in the Central Valley here in Fresno, California, but I'm licensed in 5 states, so throughout the
There you
U.S.
go. There you go. And I am Carlos Montoya, and I am the insurance professor. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here tonight. Okay, what is important to know? Look, what you're looking for, you are gonna get it. Okay, if you're looking for excuses why this is not working for you, guess what? You're gonna get it. If you're looking for information that is going to help you propel whatever activity you are doing, guess what? You are gonna get it. Okay, since we are online, make note of this. This is as good as we, all of us, interact. Okay, so raise your hands, send a comment, ask, make questions, whatever you want to make this a two-way communication cycle. That way, all of us are going to get the best out of this webinar tonight and over time. So I want to pass it on to Jerry, Michael
Awesome.
Jordan of Financial Services.
Thank you for that, Carlos. Thank you for that. So guys, I want to go over a couple of things here before we get started. So as Carlos had mentioned, and thank you, Carlos. Everyone give Carlos a virtual round of applause for being a brilliant MC for the event here today. But as Carlos mentioned, guys, this event, it's a monthly training that we do to share effective management technology. Some of you guys are watching, whether you're live, whether you're on the replay, you've maybe encountered this before. You've used this technology in your business. Maybe you're winning with it to some degree. And so if you're one of those people, I want you to know what we're going to go over today is going to take a very basic fundamental, right? Now, sometimes we do these webinars and once in a while we'll get someone that's like, well, I've seen this before. I've read this before. This isn't new. I'm here to tell you very, very little of the successful things in your business are going to be new. Most of it's stuff that you heard before. You're not doing it the correct way yet. You're not doing it enough. You're not going deep on it. So it's all about the fundamentals, right? So that's one thing. So if you're in that crowd, you've used this before, I want you to have an open mind. I want you to acknowledge the things you already know. I want you to acknowledge the things you want to know. And I want you to acknowledge the results that you're looking for as a result of the webinar, the training that we're giving tonight, right? Now, for those of you that have never seen any of this before, you're like, what is effective management technology? We're going to go over that, right? We're going to try and keep the terminology to a minimum so that it's simple, it's easy for anybody to grasp. Because when I first learned this, guys, I want to share my backstory on this. I didn't know anything about business. Right, I got started in business at 18 years old. I literally got thrown into it. I got an insurance license and someone was like, cool, go do it. And I'm like, go do what, right? So I didn't know anything about anything. And when I finally started to learn some of the stuff I'm going to share with you tonight, and I'll never forget this. This was June of 2015. In June of 2015, the income in my company was $5,000 for the entire month, right? Like that's barely a living wage, let alone enough for a company to make. I learned one thing, and it's one piece of the management technology that we're covering, and the very next month, the income from my business was $60,000. I kid you not. Carlos just said he tripled his income with it, right? So this stuff works, but it's kind of like the gym. It's only going to work if you work, right? And this training, as you're learning it tonight, it's not something you did, it's something that you're going to do. You're going to continue to do it. It's not a one-time webinar like so many of these things are. So without further ado, I want to share the screen here and get into it. So a little bit about who we are. This is the Effective Management Association. And so we are, specifically with my group, we're focused on financial services. That doesn't mean the webinar is not for everyone. There's effective management associations in cities all over the United States, in industries all over the United States. So if you're in real estate, there is an EMA for real estate. Okay, if you live in New York, there's an EMA for people in New York. So if you're watching and you're like, well, I'm not in finances, don't worry about that, right? There's groups you can plug into. Let us know what industry you're in, where you live, and let's get you connected with the right people. But our valuable final product, the thing that we produce, the exchange that we make, okay, it's a growing, prosperous network of entrepreneurs that is creating a safe and viable community through wide acceptance and use of the Hubbard management system. Okay, that's what we're all about. So growing, what does that mean? We're getting bigger. This thing expands. Okay, I would like to see more entrepreneurs doing well. 95% of small businesses fail in the first 5 years, right? And for me, small business was a struggle. So growing, prosperous, what does that mean? It means that you are able to invest in yourself. You're able to make donations. You're able to grow your company, your family, and your loved ones. You have the quality of life that you're looking for. You can help the community around you. Right? And anyone that comes across our radar, I want them to know there are tools to create business prosperity. Right? There's too many broke business owners, and I want to change that, right? And if you're not a broke business owner, that's awesome. More power to you. Let's help people up to where we are at. And that's a big part of what this group does. Okay? And then a big thing with this is creating a safe and viable community. Okay, safe meaning that it's a space that entrepreneurs can be. We can grow, we can win together, we can share what's working, we can actually make this something where everybody gets a benefit, right? And then we use the Hubbard management system, right? Now, what we're gonna go over specifically is a book. It's called The Natural Laws of Management. Okay, this is by a good friend of mine, a partner of mine named Artie Marin. And Artie is a very special guy. So he specializes in the Hubbard management system. He's an international speaker, a corporate trainer, a private consultant, and he's been doing this for over 40 years, right? And I had a conversation with him last Tuesday, about an hour, and it blew my mind, right? And so there's a ton of wisdom. He wrote this book. It's called The Natural Laws of Management, and it's based off of the Hubbard management system. Okay, and so what we're going to go through tonight is a concept from this book. Right, it's a concept from this book, but you're not going to get everything from the book. Now, those of you that are familiar with the Hubbard management system, you know that there's a lot. There's a lot of breadth to that material. There's a lot of volume to it. Literally speaking, there's lots of volumes. And that's a very good thing, but there's something that we want to look at, which is, okay, what are the things we need now? What are the bullet points? What are the things that if I take this one thing and apply it right now in my company, it's going to help? And that's what tonight is about. And that's what's in this book, is it takes the main things, what are the cliff notes, the main references that you need to know so that you can start to really apply them and simplify them and put them into your business. And you can always go back to the source volumes and study in depth and study further, but this is a key part. So my intention tonight is to give you a simple tool that will help you grow your business now. One thing, not a dozen things, one thing that you know you can use, that you know you can win with. And then from there, my intention is I want you to grab the book. We are going to give away a free copy at the end of this. So if you stay to the end, that's our gift to you for hanging out this evening. You can get a free copy. Now, Artie has worked with companies like Nestle, Chrysler, IBM, Teledyne, American Airlines, Bank of America, Larry King, and more. Right? Larry King is not a company. He's an old guy on the news, but it's pretty cool to be featured by Larry King. Right? So Artie's been around a long time, a lot of industries, and this applies regardless of the industry you're in. We're applying it in my business, in financial education and training. Carlos is applying it in his business in property casualty insurance in Canada. Lee is applying it as a bookkeeper. Right? We've got Jonathan applying it in financial services. We've got people all around the world succeeding with this stuff, right? So as you guys are here, let us know in the chat, right? Carlos and Leah are going to check the chat out. Let us know what industry you're in. Okay, and one thing I want to share with you guys, and whoever's the brave volunteer that wants to do this, there's a point in the presentation tonight that I'm going to do a practical, and I'm going to pick one person, and we're going to apply the concept that we're learning tonight to your business in real time. Okay, So I want you thinking with that as we're going through it. And if you're wanting to, we'll mic you up. You can come on live with us and we'll go through and we'll do a little mini consult on your company using the exact tool we're covering. How's that sound? All right, guys. So here is the topic tonight. It's how to compile and use a sub-product list, right? Now, to understand this topic, we need to understand something else, and it's a word I already used. It's called the valuable final product, right? The valuable final product. And I want to give you a definition here from Mr. Hubbard on the valuable final product. It says, thus, the valuable final product of a group must be valuable to another group or individuals in society around it, and sufficiently so that it can receive in return things it wants and needs but does not produce. And it must deliver its valuable final product, a point most often missed. Okay? There's a lot to unpack there, right? So the valuable final product, it must be valuable. And here's something that I see here on this definition. It must be valuable to another group or individuals, right? It needs to be something other people find valuable. And I like to bring this point up on the valuable final product because as entrepreneurs, we're also artists. And the funny thing with artists is sometimes we make creations other people are in love with, and then sometimes we make creations that we're really in love with, not so much everyone else. They're like, I don't know what to do with this, right? The valuable final product is something that you should know for sure other people are going to find valuable. Doesn't mean you don't find it valuable too, but other people specifically, because that's who you're going to exchange it with, right? And you need to be able to do it in a way that when you do it, you can receive back in return. That's the exchange aspect. You produce the product, you get something back in return that you want and need, but you don't produce, right? Now, if I know my audience tonight, I know most of you guys probably are not in the business of printing money. At least I hope not, right? That would be, you're either a central bank, which means I don't like you, or you're a counterfeiter, which means I also don't like you, right? So if you're not in the business of producing money, printing it, then that's probably a main thing you need in your company. So your valuable final product needs to be something others want, and when you produce that thing sufficiently, they return back the things that you want. And that could be money, that could be referrals, that could be goodwill, that could be repeat business, that could be a reputation in public relations, right? But those are all things you get back in exchange for a valuable final product. And then finally, it must deliver, in all caps. Anytime Mr. Hubbard uses all caps, I pay attention, right? This guy was a prolific writer. I think he's published more words than anybody on the planet in history. So when he says a certain word a certain way or capitalizes something, at that level of writing, I know there's a lot of intention behind it. So I look at that. Deliver is in all caps, right? The valuable final product must be delivered. It can't just be advertised. It can't just sound really nice. It can't just be a cool little mission statement thing at the bottom of your organizing board for your company. It needs to be actually produced. Do I produce the valuable final product? And he says, on top of that, a point most often missed. Leo, what does most mean to you when it says most often missed?
More often than not.
More often than not. And I want to use an example. I'm going to pick on myself here, okay? So I have built a seven-figure company. I built a seven-figure company. I've been on the Inc. 500, right? And last week I did a call with Artie. We went over this exact concept. My own valuable final product was out. At the level I'm at, I've been in business since I was 18 years old, and we corrected my valuable final product. So those of you that are like, yeah, I get it, valuable final product, I've heard this before. Okay, I had two. Trust me, I've studied it a lot, I've heard it a lot, right? And when I spoke with my friend Artie, who wrote this book, I will tell you the opening words on that conversation. He said, Jerry, what I'm about to tell you is not going to sound very fun, and you may not enjoy it, but when I'm done, you're going to have a much better company, okay? Right? And then he ensued to tell me that your valuable final product is out. We need to correct this. We need to correct this. We need to correct this. Okay? So this valuable final product thing is such a big deal. The reason we need to understand the valuable final product is then and only then can we use the tool of the sub-product. Okay? Now, I want to give you a tip on the valuable final product really quickly, because if we're getting into the sub-product, right, right? We need to have that down. If you don't have that down, you're not going to be able to use this tool. Okay, now in this book, The Natural Laws of Management, I'm going to read a couple of things to you on the valuable final product. Again, Natural Laws of Management by R.D. Marin. Okay, this is a book on the admin scale, which is a tool that you can use to expand your life, your company, and many other aspects of it, right? So on page 21, I'm going to read a quick reference to you to help you with your valuable final product. The product is what comes out at the other end of your production machine. The product is what comes out at the other end of your production machine. Now, this is something that literally is happening in real life. Okay, now he goes into something here and he says, let me find it here really quick. The valuable final product, it must be a finished, high-quality service or article in the hands of the consumer as an exchange for a valuable. Okay, a finished, so there's a couple things. A finished, it's done, right? High quality. We all know what quality is. We all know what high means, high quality, right? Or article in the hands of the consumer as an exchange. Exchange means you're giving it to them for a valuable. You're receiving a valuable back in return, right? So this is the thing that comes out the other end of your production machine. What is it that you're producing for people? Okay, if you're, and let me see if we've got some of the industries here, right? Kangen water. So Susan is selling Kangen water. She's been doing that for 15 years, right? So Susan would be looking at what is the valuable final product of the Kangen machine, right? And it wouldn't just be Kangen machines delivered, right? What is the thing what's the exchange that person is getting, right? It probably has to do with improved health. It probably has to do with less disease. It probably has to do with more energy, right? These are the things you should be thinking about in the valuable final product. That's the thing that gets put in their hands. I'm now healthier because I drink that water, right? We've got someone that's in financial services actually with Jonathan, right? So that would be, again, the exchange is not a life insurance product. The exchange is not a mutual fund or a retirement account. Like, let's face it, nobody gets excited about that. No one is like, I'm about to have insurance, right? What are they getting as a result of that? Okay, what is that exchange? Is it peace of mind? Is it financial security? Is it that their family is taken care of, right? Now, here's the key on the valuable final product. You should survey your ideal clientele and find out in their own words, what is it that they're getting as an exchange? Right? Surveying means you ask them, right? What made you interested in this? What's the number one benefit you feel you receive when you drink Kangen water? What's the biggest change you noticed since you started working with me on your finances, right? Like these types of questions, and you can start to formulate what is it that people are using your product for? What is the exchange that they're getting out of it, right? So that's an important factor. And if you have that, you can start to dial that into what we're going to go into next, which is the subproduct, right? So anyone that's watching, again, the valuable final product, there's an entire several chapters actually. I already dove deep on this one. And Mr. Hubbard has a lot of material on this. So these chapters are packed, right, on not just the valuable final product, but how do you then get it? How do you get people interested in it? Right? How do you promote it once it's happening? So when you get that valuable final product, you can make it widely known that that's occurring and attract more of the same people. Okay, this is like on the admin scale, this is the very bottom. This is like the foundation, right? What do I produce? Okay, and it's not just sales, it's not just money, it's not just being in business, right? It's much deeper than that. Okay, so let's get into the subproduct here. So a subproduct, the definition of a subproduct. Subproducts are the lesser products that one produces towards the VFP, towards the valuable final product, right? So they're the lesser, subproducts are the lesser products that one produces towards the VFP. That's from R.D. Marin on his Natural Laws of Management book. Mr. Hubbard has a quote here that says, if you take any VFP and trace it backwards, step by step, using a be, do, have breakdown of what it took to create it, and then wrote up the list as preliminaries, you would have a subproduct list. Right? Now, if he's saying here that the subproducts are broken down on a be, do, have basis, and that it's a tracing backwards of the VFP, wouldn't that also mean your VFP should have a be, do, have basis within it as well? Right, so I want you to think about that. Like, let's keep with the Kangen water example, right? What is that Kangen water helping someone become? Right? Maybe it helps them be healthier. Right? What is it going to then help them do? Okay, we're creating healthy publics, clients, families, individuals, whoever it is we're serving, right? We're creating a healthy being so that they can do blah, and when they do blah, what are they going to have as a result? Right? A healthy person, what does a healthy person do? A healthy person probably, has increased productivity, for example. Right? That's something they're going to do. They're going to be healthy so they can do more at work, or they can do more around the house. Right? And as a result, they're going to have more of their goals achieved, right? That would be an example of maybe piecing together a valuable final product. Okay? But the subproduct breaks that down, and he's saying we trace it backwards. Okay, now I know at least one person on here is into architecture and engineering, right? Who here is familiar with reverse engineering? Where you build something backwards, right? Now, when I was a kid, I used to like to play with the dominoes. Not officially, like I don't actually ever think I learned how to properly play dominoes, but I used to like to stack them up. Whoever did this, you stack them up and you make a little domino thing, and you do circles and you bring it all around the table, and when you knock down the one domino, all of them topple and it makes that pattern. Whoever did that as a kid, show of hands. Right? I did, Leah did, Carlos did. It's like every kid did that. Now, at one point, I got the idea that if I actually started with the last domino first, where did I want this thing to end at? And then I built it backwards. Then I would have a cooler domino design. Right? Because if I was starting with the first one, it's just like the next one and the next one, but I'm not thinking with that end result. I'm just thinking about, well, what's the next thing? Right? So the valuable final product is going to be something that you look at, okay, that's the last domino in the row. That's the final one. And we're reverse engineering and bringing it backwards. Okay? Everyone tracking with that so far? Good. So I want to give you an example of this. We're going to do a subproduct list on making a cup of coffee. Okay? Now, making a cup of coffee, we all know, like we've probably made coffee before, but let's pretend somebody didn't know what coffee was. We have an alien from another planet, or we have a caveman and they have no idea what coffee is, right? And we tell them, go make coffee, and they look at us and they're like, what the hell? Like, you want me to kill something? Are there dinosaurs involved? If it's an alien, like, is there any probing involved in this making coffee, right? No, we need to teach them. Okay, who here has employees? Let me see hands if you have employees. Okay, the number one reason it is tough to train your employees, other than the fact that they don't know the words that are used with the job, is not using subproduct lists. If you use subproduct lists, training your employees becomes so easy. Okay, here's another example. Who here has ever made a sale in their company where you got done and you were like, I have no idea how I just did that. I don't think I can do that again tomorrow. Okay, so if you were to sit down and make a subproduct list of what just happened, you would then have the recipe, the checklist to follow to repeat that activity. Right, that's really how simple this is, right? So the subproduct list for making a cup of coffee, right? So the B, right, we'd have to start with B, and then there's do and there's have. Now you would reverse engineer this. So we would actually start at the bottom here. We would start at the bottom of these lists, and we'd say, okay, great. So right before we have the coffee, and I actually like to start on the have part. Right before we have the coffee and we drink it, what would we need to have prior to that? Well, we would need to have a place to put it or drink it, right? So, okay, cool. So we have a place to put it or drink it. Right before that, what would we have to have? Well, we would have to have a cup to pour it in when it's made. Right? Does that make sense? We pour it in the cup. Now we have a place to put it so we can drink it. That's the last two subproducts before we have a cup of coffee that we're drinking. Okay. Well, prior to pouring it in the cup, okay, what would we have to have? We would have to have the skill to make a cup of coffee. If I don't have the skill to make a cup of coffee, I'm not going to be able to make coffee. Now, this is a huge one, right? Because let's take coffee out for a second and let's say sales. True or false? If I don't have the skill to make sales as part of my subproduct list, I'm not probably going to make very many sales. If I don't have the skill to market my business, I'm probably not going to be able to market my business, right? Now back to the coffee example. Prior to having the skill to make a cup of coffee, what would we need to have? We would need to have coffee, right? It's very cool to have skills, but if you don't have the resources to apply those skills, it's like being an artist, but you don't have paint, a paintbrush, or a canvas. Nobody knows if you're actually an artist or not because you don't have the resources to produce. Okay, now prior to having the coffee, what would you have to have? Time to boil the water. Prior to boiling the water, what would you have to have? A fire to put the pot on, right? We're talking to a caveman here, so we can't say a gas stove or a burner. Like fire, remember, fire had just come out. So this is like cutting edge technology for them. We're saying fire, and they're like, yeah, that's like the new iPhone for them, right? So we're like, fire? Yeah, I went to the fire store yesterday. Okay, so we have to have fire to put the pot on. Prior to making the fire and having a pot to put it on, we'd have to have fuel to make the fire in the first place. Prior to having fuel to make a fire, we would have to have a pot to boil the water in. Prior to having the pot to boil the water in, we would need to have water because there'd be no reason to have a pot if there's not water in the first place. Prior to having the water, we would have to have money to buy the necessary, or the ability to make money so you can buy the necessaries, or the skill to create the necessaries. Okay? If you had all of these things, you had the money, you had the resources, you had the water, you had the pot to boil the water, and you had the fuel to make the fire, you had the fire lit so you could put the pot on the fire, you had time to boil the water, you actually had coffee and the skill to make a cup of coffee, and then you had a cup to pour it in when it was done and a place to drink it, you would have everything you needed to have to make a cup of coffee, wouldn't you? Okay, there's a couple ingredients missing though. We've not done anything. All we have is resources right now, right? It's like we have all this stuff. What do we do? So we then have to look at, well, what would we do? Okay, so before we drink the coffee, show of hands if you've burned your mouth on some coffee before. It still gets me. I just turned 32 and it still gets me, right? I know it's going to happen. So Mr. Hubbard is saying, well, you should probably let it cool down first. See, that's one of the things I love about Mr. Hubbard. He's just the simplicity and the wisdom, right? Like, let the coffee cool down. There's no rush, right? Let's do that. Okay, let it cool down until it was drinkable. Prior to that, what would we do? We would put it somewhere where it could be drunk. Prior to that, we would put coffee in a cup. Prior to that, we would add coffee. Prior to that, we would boil water. Right? So if we boil the water, we add the coffee, we put the coffee in a cup, we put it someplace where it could be drunk, and we let it cool down until it was drinkable, and we had all of the resources needed. We had the water in the first place, we had the pot, we had the fuel for the fire, we had the fire to put the pot on, we had the time to boil the water, we had the coffee itself, we had the skills to get the job done, and a cup to pour it in when we're done to finish it, and then a place to put it so we could drink it. If we had all of that, could we have a cup of coffee? It's possible. We're missing something still, okay? What would we need to be in order for this to happen, right? Well, we would need to be somebody trained at making coffee, right? Similar to we'd have to have the skill, like to make the cup of coffee in the first place. That means I need to be trained, right? There's training. We call that hatting. Hatting comes from the hat, like in engineering and conductors with trains, you have different hats for different jobs, right? So putting on your hat means that you know, this is my hat, I'm this engineer guy, I've put the hat on, I'm doing the job, I've got the training, I've got the skill. Hatting someone is giving them the skills to get the job done so they can really wear their hat, right? We would need to hat someone at making coffee. Okay, prior to that, we would need to be somebody who wanted a cup of coffee, right? There's something to be said here for willingness. Right? Am I willing to have a cup of coffee? Do I actually want that? Am I willing to expand my business? Do I actually want that? Right? Like if I'm talking to someone right now and they're like, I've never seen this before and this blows my mind. Great. I'm glad that we have a being with a mind blown. You have a blown mind. Awesome. But are you willing to do this? Are you someone that wants to expand your business? Are you someone that wants an organization? Are you someone that wants systems that allows you to have freedom of time and you can be in what we call phase 2 of your business. Phase 1 means you're doing everything, right? Then there's a little middle ground at a gradient. Gradually, you're working your way out of it if you use these systems. Phase 2 is you've escaped, right? The thing with business, I was talking to a mentor of mine a couple of weeks ago, right? And he's like, everyone gets into business because they want freedom. I got to build the business so I can have the freedom. I got to build the business so I can have the freedom. And then they go become a business owner, and then they lose all of their freedom. So now their problem is no longer, I've got to build the business. They're like, how do I get out of this thing? It's a trap. No one ever told me there was an ambush waiting once I entered, right? Accounting, sales, marketing, delivery, quality control, public relations. And it's like, you've got to do all of that unless you organize your way out of it. You need to produce, buy yourself enough time and resources. That's the main have here. That's why you've got to be what we call a phase 1 entrepreneur, but you don't want to stay as a phase 1 entrepreneur. You need these systems, right? So who could agree if you were to be, do, and have all of these things, you would have coffee, right? Pretty easy to come up with that conclusion. Now, who else would agree that this could apply to sales? This could apply to marketing. This could apply to accounting. This could apply to improving the quality of your delivery. This could apply to learning how to use administrative technology, right? All of these tools are universal. Now, here's the cool thing, right? So here in the book, again, I want to share, again, this is The Natural Laws of Management by Artie Marin. It's on the admin scale. Page 23 of the book. Actually, no, I want to hit a different part. I want to go into some of the stuff here on subproducts. So again, I'm going to read you a few references from the book on subproducts. Okay, so this is page 49 of the book. Okay, so he gets into here on the subproducts themselves. Understanding. A subproduct list enormously assists in understanding of what an area is supposed to be doing. Right? So let's tie this together with your valuable final product, right? And let's use mine for example, right? So my company, we do a lot with financial training and wealth building, right? So our valuable final product is active and happy members improving their financial understanding and wealth, leading to improved quality of life for themselves, their loved ones, and the world around them, right? That's our valuable final product. That's the exchange we're making, right? People want to be happy, so we have happy members. Our members are active, they're involved, they're participating. We do a financial membership. Nobody wants a membership they're not active with that they don't use, right? So we want to create activity, okay? Then what are they going to do with that activity? Well, they're going to improve their financial understanding, right? Let's just pretend you're my public for a second. Who thinks financial understanding sounds good? It's nice when you understand things about finances rather than the alternative of I'm confused. I'm confused. I don't know what I'm doing. I need to rely completely and entirely on someone else's opinion because I don't know how to think for myself on the topic of money, right? So understanding, right? Then what about wealth? I didn't say retirement. I didn't say paycheck to paycheck. I said wealth. They're going to use that financial understanding to improve their wealth. And what is the purpose of wealth? Because nobody wants to be Scrooge McDuck with a bunch of coins and they dive into it. That's not the point. Why would anyone want wealth? They want more quality of life. They want to live a better life for themselves, their loved ones, and the world around them. And so that's what we're creating with them. Now, let's say that wasn't happening. Okay? How would we handle that? Because what can occur is if the valuable final product is named and it's not happening, that's one scenario. Now, if it's not named and you don't have a clear and good valuable final product, that's the reason it's not happening, right? If it's not there in the first place, it's like, okay, good, let's get that set up. But if you've got it set up and you're like, no, Jerry, I've got this dialed in. I'm doing exactly what Mr. Hubbard says. I'm following exactly what Artie says in the book, right? And it's still not happening, right? Okay, good. So we need to do a sub-product list on your valuable final product. Okay, so before somebody has an improved quality of life for themselves, their loved ones, and the world around them, what would need to be happening first? Well, they would need to have enough resources. They would actually need to have enough money and time, because money and time are the thing it always comes down to. It's kind of like the business thing, right? You either have time or you have money, one or the other. Most people don't have both. I mean, you can have neither, right? No money, no time. But very few people have mastered the art of having both. I've got all the money I need. I've got all the time I need. So we need to create a being who could achieve that. Okay, so then we get into good. So they're getting the wealth, they're getting the time, they're getting the resources, they're getting the money. So they would need to invest. Prior to investing, what would they need to have? They would need to have savings. Prior to savings, what would they need to have? Well, they would need to have income. Okay, prior to income, what would they need to have? They would need to have employment, right? They would need to have money coming in from a job or a business somewhere. Prior to that, what would they need to have? A skill set, right? Prior to that skill set, what would they need to have? Well, they would need to have a financial education, because you go to work to earn money, but you never get taught about money in the first place. So we're playing this game and we don't even know, what do you do when you win the prize? Right? So we trace all that back and we see, okay, wow, these people aren't getting financial training. That part of the subproduct list is out. You see what I'm pointing out there? So what would I do? I would then train them on finances. And when I fill that in, it's like placing the missing domino, so that now when we hit it, the whole thing falls. Okay, very rarely are all of your subproducts out. It's usually one or two key ones that you either aren't thinking with, or they're in the wrong sequence, or they're missing. And it's a matter of really working backwards with those dominoes and reverse engineering that process. Right? So that's really the goal with this, to create understanding. Right? So he says it will be found that the staffs in a section or department or even division don't really know what it is supposed to be doing. By simply taking up the subproduct lists with them point by point, they will suddenly envision the valuable final product and see what it really is. Right? So this helps you paint the picture. And I remember the first time I ever did a subproduct list. Right? I learned this and I was like, okay, let me do this on something really simple. Making a Facebook post. Okay, I want to have good and engaging Facebook posts that drive traffic to my business. I want to have that, right? So I want everyone right now, just as an exercise, I want you to think about something right now in your business that you would like to have. Take a second, think about that. What is one thing right now in your business that you would like to have? Okay, you guys got that? Good. So prior to having that thing, what's the thing that you would have to have literally right before it? I want you to take one step backwards in your mind. You can use a piece of paper if you need to get it out of your mind and in front of you. What's one thing prior to that that you would need to have? Okay, think about that. What is the one thing right prior, literally the baby step right before the final thing happens? Okay, good. If you've got that, now think about, okay, good. So I've got this one now. What's the thing that I would need to have prior to that? Okay, now what's the thing prior to that? Think about that and don't make it too complex. It's so simple. It's such a simple thing. Okay, now take that one. What's the thing you need to have prior to that? Right? Who is actually doing this and who's noticing it's getting easier as you do more of them? Anyone else noticing that? I experienced that my first time. The more I went through this, the easier it got. I was like, okay, yeah, and then it's this. And it's like, the thing I loved about this is it was like I knew the answers the entire time. Right? Like it was like all I needed was that one little prod to say, hey, what would you need to have right before that? What about before that one? And then I was like, okay, I got it. And then I would start coming up with the rest of it. And before I knew it, I was at the first step. Well, this is the very first thing I would need to have in order for all of this to occur. Okay, now here's the beautiful thing. We're here as entrepreneurs, right? But who here is not just an entrepreneur? Who here is a spouse? Okay, who here is a parent? Who here is a friend? Who here is a community member of their church? Right? You can use subproduct lists on any aspect of your life. Any goal that you have, you can reverse engineer the subproducts to getting there. If you want to be in better financial shape, there's a subproduct list for that. If you want to improve your physical health, there's a subproduct list for that. Right? Now, there's a quote here, and I want to share this because this is the, I call it the ethics bite. Let me just find it really quick. Ethics bite means it's the little bit of like, the sting, right? Because some of us are like, wow, this is brilliant, right? And then we're going to go home and do nothing with it. But I've been there. Okay, you're taking notes, you're going to have a really smart bookshelf. Okay, the notes are going to go in a stack. We're never going to look at. Some of you guys have seen this before, and you're like, yeah, I remember when I learned that. He's right. I agree with that. That's true. It works. But you're not using the technology. You're not using the tool. Okay, so this is from Mr. Hubbard. It is not man's dreams that fail him. It is the lack of know-how required to bring those dreams into actuality. For that reason and that reason alone, whole nations, to say nothing of commercial firms or societies or groups, have spent decades floundering in turmoil. Okay? So he's saying it's not man's dreams that fail him, right? It's the lack of know-how required to bring those dreams into reality. What I just gave you is the number one tool that I have used to build a 7-figure business. Bar none. This is the one. Every time I'm confused on something, I do a subproduct list. Every time I don't know how to do something in the company, I do a subproduct list. Okay? I have a subproduct list I've built for almost every aspect of my company, and that's the nitty-gritty organizing work that most people don't talk about when it comes to being an entrepreneur. Right? I get it. You've got your job, you've got your skill, you've got your technicality of what you do and what you produce, and you know how to do that aspect. But if you don't learn how to do this stuff too, your business is going to run your life instead of your life running your business. You've got to know this stuff and you've got to apply it. Right? Now, the only barrier, according to Mr. Hubbard, he's saying it's the lack of know-how required to bring those dreams into actuality. So if you knew how to do these, you would be doing them. Now, I have a trick question for you. If you're not doing them, then what does that mean? Who can tell me in the comments? If the only thing standing in your way is understanding, it's know-how, and if you had the know-how, your dreams would be coming true, your goals would be being achieved, and you've seen this now. You're aware of it. This is not a new concept anymore, right? And you're like, okay, good, but I don't know what to do with it yet. Right? What would be the thing missing then? If you don't know how to get the results yet, what would be the thing missing? I'll give you a hint. It rhymes with training. Okay? It's just more training. That's the beauty of this, guys. The whole cup of coffee thing. Having the skills to make the cup of coffee. Being trained to make the cup of coffee. Having the skills to use a subproduct list. Being trained on how to use a subproduct list, right? Cameron says training and consistency. Absolutely. Training and consistency, sticking with it, putting one foot in front of the other, right? So that's what I have for you on subproduct list. Now, I promised you guys we would actually do this in someone's business, right? So I want to find out who is it that would like to volunteer for that? First person to say it in the comments. I'm going to go ahead and use you for the example here, and we're going to take one area of your company, and you and I are just going to communicate back and forth, and we're going to help you put together what that subproduct list looks like.
Who raised the hand?
Help me out here, Carlos. Who would like to do a subproduct list on one aspect of their company right now?
Don't be shy, guys. It's
We
good
have
stuff.
Jennifer, Kim, Lawrence, Ray, Susan.
Carlos, I need my hype man here. I'm going to pick a random person if we don't get a volunteer here soon. And guys, the result of this is going to be obviously this one area. You're going to have a lot of clarity on it. So I want you to think about what's the problem area in your business right now. Okay, the one thing that you're like, man, I need to handle this, right? I'm trying to get this accomplished. I'm trying to achieve this goal. I'm trying to solve this problem. Okay, Susan, awesome. So Susan, what I'm going to do is I'm going to unmute you here. And that way you can come on live with us on the microphone. And we're going to go through and start to help you build out your subproduct list.
Wow, that's so cool.
All right, Susan, how are you tonight?
Oh, I'm good, thank you. So can you hear me?
We can,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay, good. Yeah, so cool that you're going to help me with this. Wow, 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 I'm lucky.
Awesome, I'm excited for it. So tell me about your business. You're doing Kangen?
Yeah, I've been selling. Yeah, I sell the machines. Of course, I'm a distributor for the main company who sends the machines to them. So I don't handle the product physically. It just all
Uh-huh.
the company ships it once I sell it.
Okay, that makes sense. Good. So
Yeah.
then what is the number one thing you're trying to accomplish as far as a goal or maybe a problem you're trying to solve in the company right now?
Oh my gosh, more. One thing I've tracked back is I had a fantastic team, which I somehow myself sabotaged, and I don't really have a team now. I want to build a team in Japan. That's the main thing I'm trying to do
Okay,
because I'm
good.
in Japan, but it's global. And my team anyway. So
So
years ago,
that's perfect. So we want to
yeah.
have a team in Japan. Now let's be a little more specific on this. I want you to think of a be, a do, and a have. So what's the beingness of that team?
Let's see. Active. Well, that would be under the do. Let's see. Um, so they uh, they need to have the knowledge that I have really in order to build their team. So let's see.
Okay.
That's a
So
have.
a knowledgeable,
Yes, be knowledgeable. There you go. Yes.
knowledgeable team. And then what is it that this team is doing?
They're sharing the same information. They're promoting about the health of this water in order to build their own team. So let's see. Where are we? Knowledgeable team. Yeah.
Team. So we have a knowledgeable team sharing and promoting Kangen water in order to build their own team.
That's right.
Okay, and let's add the word similar, so that way it has the same characteristics. You want their team to also be knowledgeable and sharing and promoting as well, right?
That's right.
Okay. Okay, really good. And now you said you actually built this before, right?
Yes. Oh, wow. I was so successful years ago. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. This is a great example, Susan. One of the things that can happen with us as entrepreneurs is we do something successful at some point, right?
Yeah.
And then whatever happens and it falls apart and it doesn't do the same thing anymore. And
Right.
we can tend to say, well, that didn't work. And truly at one point it did. Something
it
happened,
worked.
of course. Exactly.
Yeah.
So we want to actually look at what were the successful actions you already did. Because what you used to boom the stats then would boom the stats now if we were to repeat it successfully. So I want you to kind of tap into that as we're going through this exercise of rather than what are new ideas we could apply, what were the things you did that really worked, okay?
Okay.
So prior to having this knowledgeable team that's sharing and promoting Kangen water in order to build their own similar team, what did you have right before that?
Sharing water. I was giving out water like crazy, gallons and gallons every day.
So you had gallons of water given out. How many gallons?
I would do 48 gallons every time I left the house. That's how much fit in my car.
Okay, good. Now, prior to having that, what did you have right before that?
A networking group. That was the first problem, finding an avenue for sharing water. So I started joining chambers and various networking groups.
Okay. So networking groups to share water.
Yep.
Okay, good. Prior to the networking groups, what did you have right before that?
Let's see. Right before that. Let's see. The networking. Well, before that, I just had people that I already knew that I was trying to, get water to. But that was the key, is have people try the water and their body changes and they go, oh, heck, what the heck is this? And become interested. So just friends, but I ran out of friends. I ran out of people around me.
Okay,
that's when
good.
I went to networking groups after that.
So prior to this, we had friends.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Friends.
And then prior to that, what did you have?
My own amazing health benefits from drinking it. The friend gave me water before I had the machine. So I had my own huge, my blood pressure went normal. I lost a bunch of weight. A whole bunch of things happened that were good for me.
Wow.
So then
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, and
Went
then
to
prior to that, what did you have?
just I went to a demonstration myself to learn about the water. And prior to that, I had bad health. I don't know where to take it from there, but
Okay, good. I think this is actually heading in the right direction here. Now, the one thing I see that's missing. I can see that giving up 40 gallons of water every time you leave the house contributed to this, but I think we're missing a subproduct between this and the final one. Because if you were to give 48 gallons of water out, it wouldn't naturally create a team. So I think, do you see there's maybe a subproduct or two missing between the team being created and the giving out of the water?
yes, because they have to, in order to become a team member, they've got to buy their machine and have their own success story, and then they start promoting it. So there's a sale that has to happen in there for them to become a team member. Is that what you mean?
Okay. Yeah, exactly. So they have to buy their own machine. So now they're in. Right now, what are we missing between them buying their own machine and them becoming someone that's knowledgeable, that shares and promotes Kangen water in order to build a similar team?
Yes, that's really where the training, where my hatting for them. I would do demonstrations for their friends and their contacts. So eventually they can do their own demonstration where, we do a bunch of scientific tests to show the difference in waters.
Yeah.
So yeah, they would first I would do these demos for their people, and then they would learn to do the demos themselves.
Okay, good. So then they would have the hatting, and then they would have the knowledge to do it themselves.
Exactly.
Okay, good. Now on each of these, and we have a little bit of a, this is my error on putting the places where I put them. We've got this guy hanging out in the middle now. But on this subproduct list now, we have the hat. So I want you to look at it from the very top, and let's read on the way down. And I want you to tell me if you feel that that's the checklist. If you were to repeat that checklist, if it would create a similar result to the one it created before.
Okay, let's see. I can't. Okay, a demonstration to learn about water, personal health benefits from Kangen. Having a demo for their network. Let's see, a knowledgeable team sharing and promoting Kangen water in order to build their own similar team. Right. Okay, so the first thing that, let's see, so we're under have.
Yeah.
Okay. Demonstration to learn about the water, personal health benefits from Kangen water, friends, people already known to try water who become interested. Okay, networking group have to have. Yeah, okay, so, and what's your question to me now?
So if you look at this from top to bottom, if you were to look at this now as a checklist, do you feel that if you were to have all these items in sequence on the checklist, it would repeat the affluences that you were creating in the past?
Okay, let me look at it that way then. Okay. Yeah. I don't think of anything else. Maybe, yeah, maybe you do, but no, that looks good.
So then what I want to have you look at next on this is, let's kind of do a debug. If you look at this, which ones are in that you're doing already, and then which ones are out, where you can see, okay, I'm not doing this one anymore. I don't have this happening anymore.
Okay. Yes, that's definitely. Now, one thing in Japan that's just really doesn't work trying to pass out water because everything's train. I can't carry 48 gallons on a train.
Okay.
So, but I do have two people who come to my house regularly to get the water to try it that way. And I have one more guy I gave to last night who fell down and hurt himself. So the water has anti-inflammatory properties. So I gave him water. Anyway, so that's definitely out. I can't pass out water the way I was.
Okay, good. That makes sense. So then this is the one that, oops, this is the one that needs to be debugged is we've got to look at, okay, we can't do this one anymore, right? Passing out 48 gallons every time you leave the house. But that seemed like a vital part of your plan. So what would you replace this with? What's something that, and again, within the realm of you need to have the resources and feasibility to do it. What is something you think would be comparable that you could do and have here instead?
Let's see. What I'm my to pay my living expenses, I'm teaching English in Japan and I have 65 students. So there was a big stop because the owner of my school didn't want me to promote Kangen water to my students, but he's lifted on that a little bit. So he's kind of, becoming agreeable. But so I think when I could actually bring water to the school and then on the days, pass out to each of my students on the depending on their schedule. Like today I have about 5 students, a total of about 10 students today. So if I brought water to the school and gave everybody water to try, because that's the key actually. I'm so glad you're talking to me about this because I've been hearing that from very, very successful Kangen water period people. The whole key is sharing the water because the water sells the machines. So
Perfect. Okay, good. So that seems like a good breakthrough. Now, the model is a little different because you're not bringing it from the house and passing it out. The students will have it at the school. So we have water at the school to pass out to the students. What now do we need to have?
I'll put it in gallons. I'll put it in bottles they can take home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. And then they take it home. And what would we need to have at the point that they take it home?
What was that?
What do we need to have after the students take the water home?
Oh, what do we have to have? Wow, I have to have a comp cycle for sure. I have to follow up to see how it's going with the water. But let's see.
Good. And are these students, are they adult, like college students, or these are kids and they're bringing it home to their parents?
No, they're adults, not college students. I do have college students, but for the most part, they're people in Japan. If they can speak English, they get promotion at work. So I have a lot of employees, company employees, that are trying to improve their English so they can get promoted.
I see. Okay, so then if we had, so here's what I'm looking at. If Susan had a demonstration to learn about the water, that's almost like rekindling your initial excitement. If you were to go get that same presentation you had in the very beginning to kind of revitalize you. And then if you have personal health benefits from Kangen, if you have friends, you have people who already know to try the water who become interested, networking groups to share the water at school to pass out to the students who take the water home, communication with the students about the water, people who buy their own, padding and demos for their network, teammates with knowledge to do it themselves. Do you feel like all of those would lead to a knowledgeable team sharing and promoting Kangen water in order to build their own similar team?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Yeah, those are key spot on points.
Awesome. And Susan, this was all you and the technology. All I did was facilitate the communication there. So what I think you should do, Susan, if you're able to take a screenshot of this, because you still will want to fill out the do and the be. So I would just look at, based on the have, what are all the things you would need to do? And then what are the beingnesses that you would need to possess to get all of this done? Yes,
I already took a screenshot, but I'm going to do another one right now because updated further. Okay, good. I got another screenshot. Okay, good.
Excellent. Well, does that help?
Oh yeah, heck yeah, helped a lot. Thank you so much. Of course,
Awesome. You're
like
very
you
welcome.
said, I'm so familiar with this technology, but I'm not using it. So I'm glad you're pointing me in the right direction.
You're very welcome. So guys, that's really the simplicity of it. And I hope that gave everyone some good clarity on in your own businesses if you were thinking about, okay, how does this apply, right? Now we are coming to the end of our time here. As I mentioned, if you guys stayed on for the full webinar, you can get a free copy of the Natural Laws of Management. So what I want you to do is scan the QR code here on the screen. Okay, scan the QR code, you can get a free copy of the book. If you're international like Susan, it'll just be the ebook that gets sent out to you. If you're here in the United States, Canada, you can scan, we can ship the book out to you. That's your free copy. And guys, with this covers more than just the subproduct lists. You're getting subproduct lists, let me read to you some of the chapters in here, right? There's a chapter here on natural law, right? Natural laws of business and management. Valuable final products, how to increase your outflow so you bring in more money, right? The inflow and outflow of your company. There's something called the 4 conditions of exchange. This has to do with the products, the subproducts, the valuable final products. There's 4 conditions within these, and if you can achieve the 4th condition, it will blow your company up, right? So there's so much in here. Naming the product, the be, do, have thing we just went through. There's a whole chapter just on that. Managing by statistics, how to recover lost production and lost income, fixed conditions versus expansion, right? There's literally there's 181 pages of this stuff, right? So guys, I want to really make sure if you're watching this live, if you're watching the replay, scan the QR code, get the book. It's completely free. And we'll cover the book, you cover your own shipping is the deal. So we'll cover the book, send it out to you, you do your shipping, right? If it's the ebook, you'll get the ebook if you're international. But I want to encourage you, get the book and dive into this, right? Because if you're here watching this right now, there's a reason you came here. There's a reason you came to this webinar. We talked a lot about in our promotion, building a business that you can expand, that you can scale, that you can begin to get distance from and time freedom, right? And so if you're watching this, I know statistically for most entrepreneurs that's not the case, right? That's not the case for most. Daniel asks, is there a study guide? So Daniel, there is not necessarily a study guide, but the chapters are very simple. And you can request that. We don't do a free study guide with the book, but if you grab the book, we will have your contact info, Daniel. There is an online course, and that will have a little bit more study guide. You could grab that as well. That one won't be a freebie. You'll just purchase that on your own after you get the book. But start out with the book. And guys, if you're watching this, it's because you're here and you're like, how do I grow my business? How do I scale? How do I get more freedom of my time? How do I make more money? How do I improve my quality of life? Because that's why we all got into business in the first place. Nobody here got into business because you want to be overworked and underpaid, right? That's literally why most of us left the job world. We're like, I'm sick and tired of being overworked and underpaid, not having enough time, not having enough money. So we jump into business and it's worse, right? This book is the way out. And it's the information in here. It's the administrative technology of Mr. L. Ron Hubbard that's in the book. So get the book if you don't have it. I read this thing like a Bible. Like I go through it over and over and over. So this is not a book, and I want to just end on this note. This is not a book that you're going to read once and be like, oh, that was cool. This is something you're going to come back to. This is going to be the most worn out book in your library because you're going to use it that much. And it's going to be that valuable to you. Right? I own a lot of books. This is probably my favorite one. One of my favorite ones for sure. It's right up there with some of my top ones, and it's because of the amount of value I get out of it. So if you want to grow your business, don't wait, don't hesitate, grab the book. That rhymed unintentionally, I know, but the purpose of it is to get you to expand your business, okay? So what are your next steps here? Let's talk about action, okay? So I want you guys to do a couple of things. Number one, grab the book. We already said that. If you didn't get the QR code, I'll pull it back up here at the end. But I want you to pre-schedule our next event. We do these live webinar trainings every month. It's the final Thursday of the month. This says May. We just did May, so technically that's June. It's the final Thursday of June at 7 p.m. Central Time. Grab the book and read it, right? When you finish the book, you will have the opportunity to do a consultation with our team. So if you're looking at, good, I read the book, how do I apply this in my company? Maybe how do I get plugged in with a group from my industry or my area? We want to have that free consultation and conversation with you, but we want you to be educated first, right? So it starts with the book once you get into the group, because here's the thing, the groups that we run, it's going to be applying this stuff, the very contents of this. So if you're not trained on it, it's going to be a very difficult thing for you to apply something you've not yet learned about. So that's why it's in that sequence. Once we have that consultation, we can get you plugged in with an effective management group for your industry or your area. And then it's a matter of applying the tools in the management technology of Mr. L. Ron Hubbard to grow your business and to prosper, right? And it really is that simple, okay? So I want to check the chat. I'm pulling up the QR code for you guys so you have it again. Carlos says the actual event next month is the 27th of June. So mark your calendars for that. Guys, if you have any questions in the chat, we'll stay on for a couple of minutes to answer those. I'm going to leave the QR code up. So if there's anything you want to ask, anything you'd like us to cover specifically, drop that in the chat, please. And we'll hang out here just a minute or two as you guys maybe have any final questions. Carlos and Leah, what did you guys think on the subproducts? Is that pretty cool?
Awesome. Yeah, I'm taking my notes.
Leah has notes.
They're not going to go on a bookshelf either. They're going to be used.
They're usable, used notes.
Thing that I need to add, Jerry, for everybody in the meeting is that every situation that you face when you go back to the book is like, hey, was this in the book before? But because you're looking for an answer to a particular situation that you're going through in your business, it is more relevant and relatable to you. It's fascinating. It's not the same that you reading a book of becoming a father when you're not a father than when you are a father and you are being challenged. Okay, it's the same for the business situation. The natural laws of management is better applied when you're managing something. Okay, that's why I have it handy, and every time that you read it, oh, okay, I got it now. So
that's a very true concept. I've experienced that too. And guys, I want you to think about too, like if you've not grabbed the book yet, right? I want you to think about what's that problem in your business right now. We discussed it already. Think of that problem that you're dealing with that you know is holding you back, right? And I want you to look at like, what is the effect of that, right? How is that impacting your company? How is that impacting your time? How is that impacting your money? And the thing about being an entrepreneur is when we don't solve these problems and we're working 80 hours a week and trying to make it go right, it doesn't just impact the business, it comes into our health, it comes into our relationships, right? So I want you to look at that problem and actually confront like, what is the effect that it's having on all of these various areas in my life right now, right? And is that worth keeping? Because it's probably not. Now, I want you to think about if you don't solve that and you let 3 years go by or you let 5 years go by, what is life going to look like? What is your business going to look like? Are you still going to have a business in 3 or 5 years if you don't solve that thing, right? And maybe it's not even that conversation. Maybe it's like, yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing 6 or 7 figures, but if I don't solve this, I'm never really going to reach my goal. Maybe my goal is to do, 8 figures or 9 figures or 10 figures. Right? And this is the thing that's holding me back. Okay? You have to really have the need to change the way you do things because your business won't change until you change the way you run it. That's the truth of the matter. Right? And so you have to be in a position where you're ready to change that. And it's going to come from your own demand of yourself. It's going to come from your own demand of your company. It's going to come from your demand of your staff. And you're going to want the right information going into that. Right? And so that's what we've changed. That's what I've changed in my company, guys. There's so much out there on business that's false. It doesn't work. It's maybe half baked. It's some philosophy from this person mixed with this guy and this other guy's opinion, or it's all confusing and disagreeing and it conflicts. And it's like, man, it's so tough to find something that actually works. This is cause and effect. It's called the natural laws of management. Gravity is a natural law. Okay, Carlos, if I violate the law of gravity, off of the roof of a building, what's going to happen? Is there any mystery there?
Well, that Jonathan will have to conduct these meetings in the future.
Jonathan will have to take over, okay? It's a natural law. My point there, guys, with some humor, is that natural laws, they work. Natural law means it's gravity, it's oxygen, it's something that predictably it's going to get the same result every time when you use it correctly. Okay, so get the book, and I don't care if you've studied this stuff on all of the volumes in the world or you're brand new to it. Get the book and do yourself that favor, and then schedule again. It's June 27th, 7 p.m. Central Time. If you guys got value out of this one, let us know, and we would love to see you back here next time. I want to check the chat here one more time before we tune out. Susan says, thank you. I have a U.S. address, so I'll use that. This is an amazing service that you're providing. You're very welcome, Susan. So Susan's grabbing the book for sure. So guys, that's all we have this evening. Carlos, Leah, do you have anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
Well, 27th, I always make the note that is 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for me. Okay. Glad to have all of you here tonight. Let's make it happen. Thank you so much, everyone.
And I just have one more plug for EMA and just the groups that that we're creating here. You're getting this incredible information, and you can also join us. We meet every week, so we get to talk about this stuff every week and pump each other up, and and apply this information and get help and feedback, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, so it's great. It's great being part of a group like this.
It's crazy, but people pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to have an opportunity like this.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome.
Larry
has a question. Larry, go ahead and type your question here, or you've got the mic. Go ahead. And then Carlos, could you put your email in the chat so if people do want to reach out about joining our weekly group, they can get in contact with you?
Absolutely, yes.
Larry, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. Somehow I have to work out so I can be seen. I saw everything, heard everything, so I was here. I've ordered the book. I know you said you would be giving people copies of it. I'm waiting for the copy, and it also comes in audio.
There you
So,
go.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's for a little bit extra, you can get an audio copy of it.
Very cool. I didn't even know that. That's very cool.
Me neither.
Well, good. Thank you for that, Larry.
Yes, thank you for what you. I'm really happy you recovered this week.
Oh, I'm glad. It's a great topic. It never ceases to add value to go over subproduct lists.
Yeah, it's very, very important what you went over tonight to get things outlined. And I know you were with our company at one point in time, and I put in the chat. I don't know if you've seen it.
Oh, I didn't. No. What was your question there?
You put it up in the chat.
Let me find it here. You were a member of Primerica at one point. What did you see as the VFP? So I thought the mission statement of that company, as it's already stated, is an excellent VFP, right? If I remember, it was properly protected, debt-free, financially independent. So I thought that was actually an excellent VFP in and of itself, and they've done a lot of research on it. So that one is maybe tweak it a bit, but I didn't feel like that VFP needed.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys. Well, we are going to wrap it up here. If you didn't get the book, too late. We're going to turn off the webinar. Cease any orders. You can't have the book anymore. I'm just kidding. You guys can order more. But guys, we will be back again next month. Thanks again for tuning in, and have a great night.